Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. This is season 11, episode 53 overall of 603 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet is the official sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show for the past 3 years. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, and I just hope everybody in Canada had a really good Canadian Thanksgiving Day weekend with their families and friends. I, of course, ate too much as well, and it's hard to believe October is already half over, and I'm looking forward to my guest tonight. I believe she's a fan of the NFL's Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to have to talk to her about the Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and I'm excited to have my guest on tonight. This is her first appearance on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, and her name is Slammin Sammy. It's a tongue twister, an independent pro wrestler from Dunbar, Pennsylvania, and we're going to have to ask her how far away Dunbar is from Pittsburgh. I'm excited to have Slammin Sammy on. We're going to talk a little bit about her independent pro wrestling career as well. Good evening, Sammy. How are you?
Hello, Chris. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing good. I had too much food for our Canadian Thanksgiving here yesterday. Ours is a little bit earlier than the one in the U.S.
Oh, that's always fun. Thanksgiving, you're around all that good food and stuff, and
hard to go on a diet during Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, it always is.
Well, thank you so much, Sammy, for coming on here. And I got to ask you this. You're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. You're not a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, honestly, I'm not. I've been a Pittsburgh fan for years now. Like how it started was my mom and my grandfather were both always fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I remember 3 weeks old, my mom sitting there with me because I was a little baby on her lap. I was 3 weeks old and I had a Pittsburgh Steelers bib on and I was watching the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So
how do you feel about this year's team? They're off to a good start. I think they're 4-1, 5-1, and thoughts on the Steelers game and win on Sunday against Cleveland and Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like they're on a good streak right now, 4-1. And Aaron Rodgers, not too many people are very wild about Aaron Rodgers, but I'll say this, if he can prove himself, and he's one of those guys, you say that he can't do it, he'll turn it right around. And that's what, he can do for the team. And also his years of experience too, I think can really help those guys in a way. And you got very nice guys on that team, you got TJ Watt, who's just legendary. And, you got big guys like Cam Hayward helping them out and stuff. So, yeah.
And you got running back Kenneth Gainwell, who came over from the Eagles. He knows how to win a Super Bowl, and I think he's been a welcome addition as well. Got to ask you, you were at the game on Sunday, right?
Yes, I was.
What makes Pittsburgh so special for football and that stadium? I still call it Heinz Field, by the way.
Goodness. I mean, it's such a special thing in a way to me because I feel like we do some stuff in ways that like other teams don't do, like from the terrible towel, which is a unique thing that I think separates us from the rest of the teams. And then we have our wonderful song like Renegade, which was playing, and honestly I enjoy that every time it comes on. So yeah, but too, like the promo packages too that they had there, like I was impressed. I was like, whoever is in the promo room with the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're doing a great job. You're highly doing a great job and stuff. So, I mean, it's just a wonderful atmosphere, especially to see all those towels swinging around in the air, and some of the players too, like can get the crowd into it, like TJ Watt and all the rest of them and stuff. So there's just aligning factors that makes them very special from other teams.
I've been to Pittsburgh a couple times and also Grove City, Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania because there's a lot of trees and mountains, and also there's no tax on shopping. I guess unless they have put that on there. But Pittsburgh, I didn't know this. After Italy, Pittsburgh has the second most bridges in the world after behind Italy.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either, actually. So
Yeah, and the people are friendly, and it's a great sports town. Obviously, the Steelers are the kings, and then you got
yeah,
the Pittsburgh Penguins, who've won 5 cups with Sidney, 3 with Sidney Crosby, and 5 in total, and Mario Lemieux had 2. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates, they got the nicest ballpark in baseball, but they just haven't put it together since 1979, when I was 7 years old, was the last time they won a World Series.
yeah, it's been a while for that. So
Are you a big hockey, baseball fan too, or just mainly football?
I feel like just mainly football and pro wrestling, of course. So
Gotta ask you this since we're gonna start talking about your pro wrestling career. How did you come up with your name, Slammin Sammy, which is a tongue
so
twister?
so ironically, believe it or not, so Slammin Sammy was a nickname given to me when I was in because I did karate for 7 years. And the nickname that my karate instructor gave me was Slammin Sammy because of the way I fight, which is more which is more aggressive and rough around the edges and stuff. So, really laying in hits really hard and stuff. And I was just, that that fighter, because I remember like winning first place and in fighting all the time, and that's what he called me from that day on. And I remember the first time he said it, it just really clicked with me. I was like, Slammin Sammy. I was like, that's it. I'm using that name. So, and we can thank him, by the way, for giving the name now. Because if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be as successful as it is now. You know what I mean?
How much of an impact did karate have on your wrestling career, and also in terms of your self confidence from karate?
Well, kar- karate really brought out like the best in me because I had some nice times, but then I also in a way had some times that were not so good, like where I felt like I was in like a low level position in many ways. I had to work to get to the top of the building. I had to work to become like the best in that dojo, and I did, and it took like many years because and this is coming back to the Slammin Sammy character, what it's all about. People doubt me until I can prove that I can do it, prove that I'm strong, and prove that I do belong in that position. So it took a lot of hard work and strength for me, both mentally and physically. But in many ways I got there, and it helped in many ways with my confidence, as building that tough mindset of knowing I can do it. Ignore all the crap that's coming from the other area of people. So it was very beneficial to me in my career from a get-go.
Mindset is huge. If you don't believe in yourself, then nobody else will believe in you. And you have to block out the naysayers and the haters and skeptics, no matter what age you are or what career you're in as well. And I wanted to ask you this too, Sammy. How important is having a good family support system and friends supporting you as well?
Well, goodness, it's a very important thing to me. Some people are not as, lucky to have, family support, especially when it comes to stuff, like pro wrestling or anything else. But for me, my family has just been like amazing support throughout my career. Like they support, any decision I want to make professionally, personally. And they also, acknowledge the personal growth they see in me and also the growth as a professional wrestler that they see too. And my parents are both loving and wonderful, wonderful people. And they want to, help me with whatever I need in the wrestling business as much as possible while I help myself too. So I'm very thankful for them and grateful to have them in my life, because they could have easily not supported me, but I'm very glad that they do. And I know they're proud of me and everything that I've done so far.
Sammy, since I'm based out of Canada near Toronto, which we have a wrestling hotbed here in Canada too, can you tell my audience just a little bit about yourself and when did you exactly pick up the wrestling bug?
Okay, so so my character, like I just said before, Slammin Sammy, very Rocky Balboa like. Like what I said, like I'll turn the doubters and prove people wrong that I can actually do it. I'm from Dunbar, PA, which is 50 miles south of Pittsburgh, because I have to say that every time because I know people have to ask about that all the time and stuff. So, and I caught the wrestling bug like very early on. Like how it started out is with my dad. He would always put on wrestling for me on the TV when I was like 3 years old, and we would play wrestle on the couch and stuff, and like fake choke slams and all that stuff and all that type of thing. And it was very fun. And as I grew up and grew older, like around 7, it was around 7 years old that I decided that I really wanted to actually do this, for the rest of my life. It was my dream. And my parents were both very supportive about it. And I really, in a way, just like set my mind to it. I mean, and I didn't have no thought behind saying it. I just blurted it out. But I even knew from a young age, that I really wanted to do it. And I know that I could do it. And I knew, how much, even later on, I knew how much work that I had to do to get there.
When you say Pittsburgh, obviously everyone thinks about the Steelers, the Pirates, I mean the Penguins, the Steelers, the Pirates. But for pro wrestling, when I think of pro wrestlers from Pittsburgh, PA, the first name that comes to my mind is Kurt Angle, the Olympic champion and WWE superstar.
Yes, absolutely. Kurt Angle is like a legend, I think, too, around, especially the area. And in pro wrestling himself, he did the work, to learn everything that he needed to do for this business. And now he's like, now he's arguably, an icon in the Pittsburgh area. And he's very much an inspiration to a lot of people too, in that way, especially around this area, that they can do something like that and follow their dream, regardless, of being from this area or any other area in general too.
How big is independent local wrestling in Pennsylvania, specifically in the Dunbar, Pittsburgh area?
It's a pretty big field. We have some, great promotions. I could name like a lot of them. I mean, there's just so much, there's just so much independent wrestling. I would argue in many ways it's better now than it was like back then, especially, where you have now that you have like social media and everything else to, to promote your promotion. And, I think, the promotions at this rate have been running very successfully. And I hope we do see more of them pop up around here. So,
I want to ask you this, Sammy. In your opinion, from your experience, what makes a good promotion, and what's it been like wrestling in 7 different states already? And do you have to have like a wrestling license to wrestle in different states?
so for me, I love, the traveling in this business. I've wrestled in 7 states and I've really, enjoyed it. There's like a couple places that I know where you need to have a license, especially in Kentucky, which I wrestle there often. So I did need a license for that, but hey, I got it, and I've been wrestling down there. It's a pretty great place to wrestle in, but very much these states, they're just very, different in many ways, different venues, different atmospheres, and you have different types of crowd of people, which is something, at every wrestling event, like we always say, you never know what the crowd is going to be like, you know what I mean? So, and, the different reactions too that you get from that crowd. And then you experience how these promotions run, because they run in a very unique way. And what I would say, what makes, a good wrestling promotion is, what they what they see in their talents too, to help make them, a priority, and in a way to help them learn and grow while they're doing these shows. Because at the end of the day, I'm under the belief that no matter how many years you are into it, you're still learning and growing and developing every day, from your character to the moves that you do in the ring. You need to keep improving that all together. So not only that, but good promoters behind the scenes running things, in a right way and in a smart way too, and just enjoying the business too. They should be having fun with this, you know what I mean? Because pro wrestling is supposed to be fun. Sometimes you get a little bit whiplash from all the drama and stuff, but it's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. So, I mean, I think having fun makes a good wrestling promotion, and obviously, great people in charge, and, a lot of people back there, that can help like veterans, and having a bunch of talent too, especially young talent that you can shape, mold, and grow into the future. And then, just taking your promotion seriously in general and promoting it and doing everything you can do for that promotion. That's, to me, what I think personally.
How competitive is the industry? And you've mentioned 7 states. Any talks of you coming over to Ontario or into Canada at some point to wrestle as well internationally?
I would love to come on down internationally. That's obviously, a big circuit and a big way, to get yourself out there, pro wrestling wise, and in anything, not just pro wrestling, but other stuff too. So it would be amazing. I think it would definitely be a very, great experience to experience a different crowd of people too, and to just experience the atmosphere that Canada has to offer. And I love traveling places too, when it comes to pro wrestling and stuff. So it would definitely be amazing. So
We got some comments here from
yeah.
Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk Podcast. Let's go slamming Sammy. And then the other comment is from my friend. He's a pro motorcycle rider in California. He's been a guest of my show, and he was in the U.S. military for 20 years. His name is Edward Hearn. He's from in California near LA. He wants to ask you, have you ever met Kurt Angle or any WWE superstars so far?
I haven't met Kurt Angle, but in a way, I really would love to. I mean, I met the Rock and Roll Express, and they were a very nice people to meet and stuff like that. So yeah.
Sammy, who were some of your biggest influences and mentors in wrestling besides your dad, as well as some of your favorite female and male wrestlers when you were growing up?
my biggest influence for me whenever I was watching pro wrestling and really wanted to be in it was obviously and still my favorite WWE wrestler to this day, Seth Rollins. I mean, I just caught on to him so much because of his, high self-esteem and the way that he does things inside and outside the ring. And, you can feel it, like, with a passion whenever he does it, which I think sometimes some people don't realize, that you need in this business, because you do need a passion to succeed. I mean, yeah. And for a favorite female wrestler, I mean, obviously, I liked her even before she was married to Seth Rollins, like Becky Lynch, because she was like, she had that same like type of baby face character that I'm going for, the Rocky Balboa type of scrappy underdog baby face, to fight and prove people wrong. So, because that character is very, inspiring. So that pretty much, seeing that, motivates me to know that they still want characters like that, and we can bring them on to the live screen.
Now, Seth and Becky have both been baby faces and heels, and I think they're both better as heels. Gotta ask you this, Sammy. If you had a choice, would you rather be babyface permanently, or would you rather be a heel?
Gee, well, personally for me right now, because I think personally for me right now, because I mean, I haven't played the other side of the fence yet, being a heel, but I really do like being a babyface, because for me, I like a challenge. It presents like a challenge and something for me, to work towards, building that fan base with the crowd, and getting that crowd reaction that I, want to hear, and, fight for that, ability. Cause, that's basically, the big market of what I'm going for, is for more cheers from the crowd, because honestly, that's what wrestling is about, getting the audience and
Reactions.
The crowd involved. Yes, reactions, and creating like, those moments that will last for them for a lifetime. And I've created some moments, so far, that I'm very much proud of, especially with little kids too. Like, that's a big demographic for me. I mean, heck, I love children. I can't help myself. I just love little kids,
Storytelling aspect of it as well. And since we brought up Seth Rollins here, just quickly, what are your thoughts on Braun Breaker betraying Seth Rollins?
Well, I don't really know. I don't really like know where it's gonna go here, but wherever they get it to, you can trust that business wise, they'll make the right decision, and the storyline can continue, and they can find some way, to work with that and everything, and, figure out, what they need to do from there. So, and that automatically makes him a baby face again. So in a way, I'm excited, to see him switch back from being heel, because I think he can. I mean, I personally think he's one of those people who can play
Both
sides of the fence, which is a rarity, because some people, can't.
Just can't.
Right. Yeah, they just can't. But in many ways, I think, though, for him turning back babyface will help him a lot here. So,
wanted to get your perspective on this. When you're doing babyface or heels, do you have the ultimate say in it, or does it come down to the promoter?
you can definitely like have a say in a way, because this is kind of like a down the middle answer, like when the promoter asks, like, what do you work, then you usually say, this character. But then, there's sometimes in some ways where you do have to turn like the opposite sides. I mean, which can work very well, just as long as it's something that, you're comfortable with, something, that the booker's comfortable with, something that they, and they know that you can carry that out, and they know that they can have that faith in you to carry out, the job that you're basically told to do whenever you get out there. Because sometimes, well, most of the time for some people it ain't, long term where they're at, because they end up, switching after a certain period of time. So to make that switch can be very hard. So they have to take that into account, with an open, mindset on what can happen. So anything can happen. So it comes down, I think, between the promoter and the talent themselves. So
And also, you can have wrestlers, both female, male, that can do both. They can be kind of neutral, where they're heel, but they're also a baby face. Do both at the same time.
right, yeah, I've seen that around. So
Another comment here from Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk Podcast. Love you, Sammy. Thank you so much for watching. For anyone watching this live stream right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, you have comments or questions for my guest, Slammin Sammy. It's a tongue twister. Please put in the comments in the comments section, and we'll make sure we ask Sammy about your questions as well. Wanted to ask you this too, Sammy. How important is having the right ring gear and the colors and footwear, as well as do you have your own walk-up interest song? And I'm assuming it would be Renegade.
well, no, not Renegade, but for me personally, like when it comes to in ring gear, I think ring gear is the most important thing. Like you want something that will stick out, and you want something that also true, that is very true to your character. I remember in many ways, coming up with my gear, finding something that's true for my character and true for me, but not only that, like something that's very unique and that can separate yourself from all the other people that are wrestling out there, because sometimes a certain crowd has the same gear, but whenever you can do something to stick out and be different, it's just something that works personally for yourself, and people see that too, and it can be something in a way that really catches people's eyes. I've gotten compliments for my gear at times. They say, they're like, "Oh, I love your gear," and I'm like, thanks. And I notice sometimes a lot, like whenever I'm like performing, like in the sunlight, it's it's really shiny, because that's what my gear does. It's very like shiny and has that metallic effect. But I think it's very important, especially important for like the character that you want to present out there, and it's something that has to be unique and like stand out. And for a walkout song, and I think the music, especially the theme song, has to be something too that revolves around the character around in that way. And for me, my theme song is "Kickstart My Heart" by Motley Crue, because that's that represents the type of wrestler that I am, because it has that aggressive and intense
High energy.
high energy that gets you excited, and that gets you ready to watch this match, and it gets you intrigued, because that's what we try to do too with all these things, but not only with the theme song, but also the character. Try to pull people in and get them invested into the match and the performance and everything, so on and so forth.
In your opinion, who has the best entrance music right now?
Oh goodness, there's there's so many like theme songs. Like for me, in my personal opinion, the theme song that I've liked the most throughout the years was obviously, well, other than Seth Rollins, I'd say like the one theme song that I like over the years is definitely like Tyler Breeze, whenever he does the Gorgeous character. It's such a catchy song. It's just like one of those things that are so catchy, and I love like listening to it and just being intrigued by it. It's one of those things that pulls you in and catches your attention.
Absolutely. I didn't start becoming a wrestling fan until the mid 80s because of Hulk Hogan, and the part of the reason was his gimmick, but also his theme song, "Real American," kind of inspired you, and it was kind of cool. And I thought that was part of the reason. Obviously Hogan, but you have to have the right music to go with the wrestler, and Real American suited Hulk Hogan perfectly at the time.
Right. It definitely was something that was, right for him and his character, especially, the direction that they wanted to go through with him and stuff. So like, and even throughout the years, like everybody thinks of that song, when you think of Hulk Hogan, which RIP, by the way, very sad, but
Yes, absolutely. He is the Babe Ruth of wrestling. I don't think it would be, whether you like him or not, he had such an impact on professional wrestling.
right. Yes, he did. If it wasn't, and if it wasn't for him, then a lot of us wouldn't be able to, get into a wrestling ring today and perform.
Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk podcast says his song is Cult of Personality. And as soon as I hear that song on the radio, I immediately think of CM Punk.
Yes. Yes. Big CM Punk fans there, so.
I get another question from you from my guest, Edward Hearn. He wants to know, will you do any wrestling events in California? I am now a follower of yours on Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. Anywhere where I can, get booked and, and if the drive is, good enough for me, then it's something that, we definitely can do. And, there's not just, the promotions around here in PA, but there's so many of them scattered, all over the place. So being able to branch out and get those opportunities out in other states and more, and, add some more states to my resume, if you will, would be very nice. So yeah, California would definitely be very fun. Hopefully it's warm climate.
Another question again from Pro Wrestling Extreme Talk podcast. He says, Sammy, how do you feel about Seth Rollins being betrayed by Paul Heyman?
Oh, for goodness sakes. Well, I mean, if it's something that'll help, the storyline, like I've said before, going along, I could see this coming way down the line. Of course, you could see it coming, but now I think it's just about, what's going to be next for Rollins going forth here. And, we kind of, and like I said, we did see the writing on the wall with that one segment where he was talking to Seth, like, hey, I have to, question why I picked you instead of Roman and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I feel like in a way it was a little, in a way, but I understand in many ways, why they did it and stuff. So
we got the comments keep coming in here. So Edward Hearn has another question for you. Edward's watching on YouTube. He wants to know, what was the toughest injury you've had to overcome in your career so far?
Geez, I can tell you this. I haven't been injured yet. And hopefully I don't get injured, anytime soon. I really haven't had, anything to overcome physically, but if I ever do, I'm going to be, dedicated to this, that, it'll be the first thing, that I think about whenever that happens. And I'll work, my rear end off, to get back into it, whenever, or whenever it happens, if it ever does happen,
Now, I forgot to ask you this too. We were talking about ring gear earlier. Do you wear wrestling shoes, or do you wear boots with strong support for your ankles too?
I wear boxing boots because I still want to have the feel in my feet and the traction in a way. So, those are very nice. They're like black boots, which have stars on them. Obviously, if it's a Slammin Sammy item, then it has stars on it. Newsflash. but yeah, those boxing boots are very, nice to, to work around, to be able to, to do movements with, which is what you need, wrestling boots or any type of thing for, I mean, I'm not against, wrestling boots, but just for me, that's what, what feels comfortable. I think it's about more like what the person is comfortable in, something, that they can move around fluently and all that. So
We already talked about how you got your name. How did you come up with this logo?
So how I came up with this logo is like we had someone from our family actually, like make this logo, and my idea was pretty much, like the fist and like the attention to detail on it with like, the stars and stuff. And obviously the style of like how they have my name in there, which is very good, with like all the cracks and stuff, that was more on him. So it was pretty much basically like a, like a two-way street for this logo. And for me, it's like a very nice logo. Like I've talked about before, it's unique. It very much sticks out. And, me, my parents too also, helped me in this role as they do, for everything in my career and stuff. So yeah.
I have to ask you this. Do you have your own website yet? Or do you have your own merchandise out yet?
Yes, I do have my own merchandise, that you can get at intermission. I have, we have Slammin Sammy shirts that are, available. And we have like the rubber, like Slammin Sammy bracelets and a new color scheme actually. And, we have our own, I have my own little mascot, Slammy the bear, and he's a wonderful bear to have. So I have, those out, and we have those available. And we recently, like our newest thing that we have too is we have like these Slammin Sammy charms that we have that we got made, and you can have it like in a keychain, a necklace, or, a bracelet. And they're very nice and good quality, which is what I value for, good merch. I value, quality and something that'll be good, something that won't, turn into crap on me. So,
Have you had fans ask for selfies and your autographs yet too after matches?
yes, absolutely. I've taken pictures, with a lot of fans, and I have, headshots and stuff like that. So, fans always want to buy those and want me to sign those. And I really enjoy that too, personally, whenever they come up to my merch stand and ask me for a picture or anything. Cause, to build that, fan base, to build that, strong connection between a fan and yourself, it's a very, wonderful and powerful thing that, you can do for yourself in the pro wrestling business in general. So
How satisfying seeing people smile and wanting to meet you and greet you and ask for your signature.
well, in a way, it's very, wonderful just to see people come up and smile, or, tell you, good match and stuff, because, that's what you need in the pro wrestling world. A lot of, more, I feel like we need a lot of more like positive energy, because at times the wrestling business can just be so, the word I want to describe here is negative. Sometimes it can just be like so negative, you got the politics, and you got, people doing stuff to you, and then, you have, your mentality and your thoughts on stuff. Sometimes they're not in your best favor, or you're self-sabotaging yourself. So it's very good to feel that positive, reaction. And it feels good to, feel like that you're doing a good job, and feel like that you're in many ways a great priority, and just having, that great feedback. It's just something that, not only do I think I need, but a bunch of other, pro wrestlers need. We need to feel like appreciated sometimes, and we need to, be recognized in a way.
Sammy, is it okay to play the clip from your YouTube channel?
Absolutely, you may.
And people can subscribe to what Slammin Sammy YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, that is exactly right.
Okay. This is your highlight reel from I believe August 2nd, 2025, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Please let me know if you can hear the audio. If you can't, we'll fire the audio guy, which is myself. I try to be funny. That's why I'm in radio. Just 1 second. We're going to play it right now, courtesy of Slammin Sammy's YouTube channel. It is a tongue twister, but I can say it. So 1 second.
Absolutely.
Slammin Sammy, Slammin Sammy. Here she comes, yeah, she's breaking the chains. Slammin Sammy's got the crowd going insane. Power in her fist, fire in her eyes. When she hits the ring, it's do or die. You can feel the crowd shake, the air is getting tight. There's no escape, it's time to fight. She's slamming! She's bringing down the pain. Slammin Sammy's here to reign. No one's safe when she's in the ring. Feel the roar of the crowd say, she's slamming, yeah. She's a force you can't deny. A storm that's tearing up the sky. Slammin Sammy, the woman's untamed. Now the world will know her name. Step up, get ready, you'll get knocked down. Sammy's taking over every town. From the streets to the spotlight, the champ is born. She's wrecking legends, bringing the storm. Every hit's like thunder, every move's precise. You step to Slammin Sammy, better think twice. She's bringing down the pain. Slammin Sammy's here to reign. No one's safe when she's in the ring. Feel the roar of the crowd say, she's slamming, yeah. She's a force you can't deny. A storm that's tearing up the sky. Slammin Sammy, the woman's untamed. Now the world will know her name. Step up, get ready, you'll get knocked down. Sammy's taking over every town. From the streets to the spotlight, the champ is born. She's wrecking legends, bringing the storm. Every hit's like thunder, every move's precise. She stepped to Slammin Sammy, better think twice. She's bringing down the pain. Slammin Sammy's here to reign. No one's safe when she's in the ring. Feel the roar, hear the crowd say, she's slamming, yeah. She's a force you can't deny. A storm that's tearing up.
Thoughts on that highlight reel and who helped you put that together?
Well, first of all, like, I'm trying to maintain myself here because because that makes me smile, every time I watch it. But anyway, yeah, this highlight reel was amazingly put together, and the person who helped us put it together was Tanner Martin. He's a very big, pro wrestling fan, and he's done stuff like this before for some wrestlers out there. So he was amazing in helping us, get together, helping us get this together. We actually, met up with him to help get this like together and stuff. And, of course I provided, like the video clips and stuff, because we have a lot of them. And, that's the benefit of having my parents, record my matches and stuff. So because we can create like little short, like reels or clips that we can, put in there and stuff. But he did an amazing job for it. And the song was from somebody named Marcus Carpenter. He put that song together and made it. And honestly, it's a very wonderful song. It's a very, powerful song. That's like a second song I'd use if I didn't, have crew, if you know what I mean.
I was gonna ask you that. That would be a great intro song as well.
Yes, it is a very strong song, a very, powerful song. And, he makes a lot of songs for like a lot of people. So I thank him for making that one for me. And I love it because, for me personally, it tells, who I am as a wrestler, you know what I mean? Because, some people, there's some people in wrestling that have like, very much different styles. And for me, I'm just that, that aggressive, technical powerhouse. And for me, it just works in that way because it's so powerful and high intensity and aggression and so much more.
Edward Hearn has another comment or question for you. I guess a comment, this one. He's watching on YouTube, by the way. Thank you, Edward. I love the highlights. The music reminded me of a cartoon intro as a kid.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that's definitely like a song that you could see as being like part of like a cartoon, especially for like a superhero cartoon or something,
Sammy, do you remember your first match you ever had? How nervous were you? And in your opinion, how much have you improved, evolved as a pro wrestler since your debut April of 2024, which isn't that long ago?
So I made my debut at Rise Pro Wrestling in 2024 in April, as you said, and and my opponent was Laura Lovelace. And honestly, for me, it was a great debut. It was a magical debut. I'll never, forget how I felt, the first time busting through that curtain, being in that ring, and it's like an adrenaline rush, and I'm psycho because then after that, then I want to do it. Then I'm like more. I'm like I crave it. I want more. I I feel like in a way, like I've improved and evolved like so much as time went on, both like mentally and physically, like especially with my character, that's something that's very hard. Like for me, I know personally, like I have issues with speaking and like being talkative. But in many ways over the years I found, ways that I could, help that out. And now, I'm doing more things that can help me be talkative and build that fan connection, because that's mainly what it's there for, building a connection and stuff. So I mean, I feel like I feel like I've improved a lot there, mentally, but also physically as well. Like when it comes to stuff like selling, or the entrance, just anything like that. I mean, I feel like in many ways I've come a long way, in a way where people can also see me too as like a priority, and they can rely on me, to be a part of their show, and make it better, or just be a rememberable part of it in a way. So I mean, I feel like I've improved a ton, and that's what I went on to before. I feel like you should learn and grow every day. So, and that's what I continue to do in a way, because I love this business. I love this business, and that's just what I want to do: learn, improve, and grow, every day. I mean, I feel like I've evolved more, to my own, and I started being, comfortable, with the character that I was, playing. And I feel like I've made a big, impact and evolved really well since then.
You want to continue to grow and not shrink in any career, especially wrestling.
Right, exactly.
Thoughts on Rise Pro Wrestling and how much they helped you out?
They helped me out a great bit because I actually trained with them. They own like a training center called the Stronghold Training Center. And I actually started training when I was 15 years old, because the legal age to wrestle in PA is 18. So I had some years, to train. And obviously, I mean, it was a great decision, for me to make, because obviously, it could get me ready for that time, it was for me to debut. And they're very have been, very good to me, over the years, especially with training. And my trainer is Brandon K, which he's, famous around here in this area. And I'm grateful that, he gave me the opportunity at 15 years old, to come in as, despite my, young age and what was, allowed at the time. So I'm grateful, for that opportunity. And I'm grateful for all the training that he's given me, all the knowledge, not just him, but also like the other trainers too that we have nowadays. Cause I still am a firm believer in training. I still, go to train. Like I believe in growing and like learning every day. But they help so much with that. And especially like I talked about earlier with my debut, like they made it so magical. So they've done good by me in that way.
Can you just tell us about the training aspect and the nutrition aspect of being a pro wrestler? And what's a daily, day, a week like for you?
The training aspect for me, well, I mean, I should say for me personally, because I know sometimes it's not, it's not for many ways the same for other people. Personally, for me, I believe in training, no matter what, training to be better, and training to, keep those, basics in your mind, and also to, to improve, learn, and grow. I mean, I believe that very much so. And it's a shame because there's some other people, in the wrestling business that believe, once they're, at to the point in their career where they're like, a pro wrestler, and they're reaching like, a good stats. They're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I don't need the training. For me, I'm like, no, I need the training. I feel like, everybody needs the training, especially in this business, because it's something that you have to stick with and be consistently better at on a day-to-day basics. Because I go to training, not only that, but I also go to the gym. That's very, important, having, strength to do stuff, having, core strength, and so much more. And, the nutrition aspect of things, having to like, have a diet that I feel like, works for you in many ways, because for so many people, different diets, have to, be accommodated, to their like body type in a way. And then, you have like the difference between like a male and female's body too, in a way where, you need to figure out, what it's, what is best, for that, person, because, in a way, like I just said, but, gender can play into that. And, what a daily day and week is like, for me, is just basically like a lot of training inside the pro wrestling ring, and inside, the gym, a lot of, most of my week, because I want to get, better and better every day, not only in my physique, but also at my craft, as I, continue to go on this journey in my career. And I want to keep that, for as long as I can.
Edward Hearn has another question for you. Thanks, Edward, for the questions and comments, and for watching on YouTube. He wants to ask you, Sammy, have you ever thought about MMA?
In many ways, like, I don't think it's ever really like in many ways like crossed my, mind. I mean, obviously I know of MMA fighters like Ronda Rousey and all that, sort of thing. But I mean, in many ways, people sometimes use MMA in their pro wrestling style or martial arts, but I personally like don't, because I like to keep that. I like to keep, pro wrestling for pro wrestling. And that's, for me, that's basically like a bottom line. Some people are, different. I mean, I've never done it. I mean, I've never like, done MMA before in my, in my life at all. Cause like I said, I had a karate background. So, pretty much two different things in a way. So, I mean, I never like thought about it, but I've seen it around, and it's pretty, and, for the ones who do that, it's a pretty good thing to get yourself, into. I mean, heck, I mean, I know though, if I did get into a good MMA fight though, I would be really aggressive and just be wild. So
How tall are you?
well, I am 5'4.5", so I'm on like the shorter side of things, but in many ways I think that helps me, be aggressive and be like, be quick and have my, intensity ramped up,
Who's been your tallest opponent so far, female and male?
Geez, there's so many like tall opponents. I would say like I had like this one freeway match, and then there was someone named Layla James, and honestly, like she was very tall and like stature. I mean, I just remember that. I remember her being tall and like stature whenever I was in the ring with her. So, and you find ways, to work moves on tall people. You find ways, to work stuff out in the ring, and you find ways, to work with them, and so much more.
I gotta ask you this too. How long does it take to get chemistry with your opponent in the ring? Does it come instantly, or sometimes it takes a while to develop?
Chemistry in the ring, sometimes it depends on, like what situation you're on with that person. I mean, I know for me personally, I have a few that I have great chemistry with. I mean, it didn't just happen, instantly for me personally. Like it took some time though. There were some that was like, oh, we have good chemistry. So there was a few, that were like instantly good chemistry. But for some, it took some, build up in a way, especially, what we could do move wise, and also especially, character wise in the ring, what we have to do, selling to the crowd and, making a good impression and everything else, in ways, like people talk about, they're wrestling like soulmates or whatever that they have in the ring, and, it's about, who can be like a good, dance partner in many ways. So, because you have those questions of like, who's a good, dance partner for you and me? I mean, I have like a lot of them. So yeah, I mean, the chemistry was built very much over time, but now I'm happy, where it's at, for what it's worth. I mean, it's just been amazing with all of that going on.
Who's been your toughest opponent so far?
Oh goodness. My toughest, opponent so far for me personally was someone who I wrestled before named Val Verman. She and I remember put on a great match together because it was so like we kind of had like the same style too. So in many ways, it worked out for both of us because it was so like it was aggressive, it was power, it was a very physical match in many ways. I mean, I remember having a scar on my face going like, oh, okay, so I don't get scars from the men, but I get scars from another female. That makes sense. But in many ways, that was very much one of my best matches. And, I hope we can mix it up again soon. She has her ways, but she's great in the ring and a great character and all that stuff.
Have you done tag team wrestling yet, or have you been solo mainly?
Yes, I've done, there have been many incidents where I've done tag team wrestling. And that's what I think people don't understand is tag team wrestling in many ways is so different than singles wrestling. I think just basically, on like the psychology of it and on the ring psychology of it and stuff. And, many things that you have to do in tag team wrestling and just, how different it can be than like a singles match, and just, having trust that, you're partnered up with someone, who's good for you in many ways. Like, I've had my fair share of mix of tag team partners, and sometimes in a way, you're just thrown into not knowing what to expect. But usually in the end, I think, well, mainly for me, usually in the end, it always ends up working out very well. And I can, walk away knowing I did my part in that tag team match and stuff. I mean, I've had some great, tag team matches personally and some great tag team partners. And tag team wrestling, is something that I think really does need to be pushed out there and brought out a lot more, especially on independent wrestling. Like it's something that just needs to be there. It's something that needs to be there more, along with single wrestlers. It's just something that I think is a big part of wrestling and a big part of wrestling history. And it's not something that should be deleted or out of the picture. It's just something that, that should be there. So anytime I can be part of like a tag team match or anything like that, I get really excited for it because, we're steps closer, to keeping, tag team wrestling alive. And I think that's very much important. So book more tag team wrestling, people.
Do you find tag team wrestling is diminishing in professional wrestling like WWE and AEW?
Yeah, I feel like the tag team wrestling that we have on there right now at the moment is very like good. And like we have some great, tag teams out there. We have some very much, popular tag teams out there. It's just, the matter of getting them, keep putting them out there and keep, putting them in that ring and giving them, their own like center stage, because I mean, I feel like, it's starting to be much more of a priority now than it was, ever before, especially, for the women and, much more. I saw whenever AEW released tag team titles for the women, and I was like, yes, because that's a great thing whenever that happens. It not only shows that women's wrestling, but tag team wrestling as a whole is being looked at as something, that matters, because in many ways it does. Tag team wrestling is something that matters, and it's a big part of wrestling, as much as the singles wrestling. So I hope in a way that we keep, having tag teams on WWE and in the independent scenes that are, out there, and we can keep, pushing tag team wrestling more.
Hey, Sammy, if you've got 5 more minutes, so you just got a few more questions I wanted to ask you. Are you okay for 5 more minutes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I could talk to you for 3 or 4 hours about wrestling. Just wanted to get your thoughts, Sammy, on intergender wrestling. And have you been in any intergender matches? And what are your thoughts on gimmick matches, too?
Intergender wrestling for me, I believe that, for me personally, I believe that it's, it's okay in many ways for a woman to wrestle a man. I feel like that's much more powerful for the female talent and the male talent too at the same time, proving that they can be in these positions and that they can, work with somebody regardless of, what their gender is. And I've been a part of a lot of very, wonderful intergender a lot of intergender matches. Heck, my first championship belt I won off of a male. So, for me, that personally was just, very amazing. And, I feel like too, in some ways, wrestling intensity wise, you can hit them, the same way that you hit women. Sometimes even more like harder and intense, because, you like that way, and they give you the same back. And, personally, that's for me in my style, because I'm aggressive and I love that hard hitting and being able to, knock somebody down. So for me personally, that's just great. I remember that title match. And plus also I remember being part of a 21 man rumble. And this is going to be a great story. I know that for sure. I actually won that 21 man rumble.
Wow.
And I got slammed by a guy whose name was the Queer Hillbilly from Pound Town. So that was very funny. And I remember him being last and throwing him out and stuff. So yeah, not only that, but I was part two of a tag team where we were wrestling against two dudes and one, big dude, me and my partner, Autumn Breeze. That was a very amazing match too. Like it was rough and aggressive, and that's, exactly, like, maybe not for other people, but for me personally and my style, I love doing intergender matches like that. And I do think that, intergender wrestling, can have a place, and it does indeed belong,
You currently have a title belt. What's the championship that you possess right now?
So my title belt is the PCWA Bushholz Auction Championship belt. This is not a, like, in a way like a main, like, women's title, but it's like they're one of their, main titles down there. So I feel very happy and very, like, honored in a way to hold it. This is actually my first title reign, so I'm hoping.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm hoping for, more in the future. And I'm just so happy, that I, won that match. And it was a great moment for me in my career, because personally for me in my career, I've been through some lows in many ways. So for me in this moment, it was kind of a high, and that's what I want. I want success in this business. I want more great moments and, everything else. And it was just a very, special night for me. I had kids coming in the ring and hugging me and stuff. So that makes me feel so happy at the end of the night. So
I know as a pro wrestler, you want to win your matches. Do you prefer a pinfall 1, 2, 3, or do you like to do the submission?
For me personally, what I like to do, I'm always happy, either way, whether it's a pin or, a submission too. And it depends on the situation too, like, match wise that you're you're in. I always strongly prefer being in my, giving them my finisher, which is, the Sammy Slammer. It's basically a boss man slam, just like straight down. And I love, the impact, that it makes whenever I grab them and slam them onto the floor. So it's always very fun to do.
And what's one of your other favorite moves you like to do too?
Well, one of my other favorite moves too that we saw probably in the highlight reel is the Russian, leg sweep. It's just something, again, very impactful and very much to the mat based, where I can, load them up and, aim fire, and then you're on the mat. And there's many other moves I like to do too, like, leg drops, Polish hammers, basically like stuff that is very aggressive. I mean, technical in ways, yes, but very like aggressive and powerful.
As we wrap up this show, Sammy, what is quickly? What is on your bucket list as an independent pro wrestler going forward in 2025 into 2026?
Jeez, my bucket list is so big. Obviously, like, my thing is to keep like having more success in this business, and to to keep growing and to keep having great moments, and and great matches, and maybe keep doing, great things like winning, title belts, or just, and, obviously traveling everywhere to wrestle. And, my main goal is obviously to, to get signed by a professional company, because this is my dream, and I really want to do this for, a living until I die, basically. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff, on my bucket list, and to just keep learning and growing every day, and and to travel to other places, obviously, to wrestle. That's a big one. So yeah, that's all I want. That's all, I want to do.
For those people that have never seen you wrestle, what's one word to describe yourself?
I would say one word to describe myself is aggressive. Very, very much so, aggressive. I've always been, the aggressive one. Especially like back then when it came to my, martial arts background, it's so much more, I've always been, the more aggressive type, when it came to fighting, or when it comes to being in the pro wrestling ring. I've always been a tad bit more aggressive in every movement I do, from, a nice tackle, or, a nice, Polish hammer, or anything I've ever done in the ring.
What's some fun facts, or one fun fact about Slammin Sammy? And also, have you defeated a male yet in the ring?
Yes, I did defeat a male. I defeated a male, for my title, as I mentioned before, which was a very, which is, a very like amazing thing. And we talked about, that Rumble where I threw out, Hillbilly from Pound Town there. By the way, that is just a very interesting name he made up for himself. I don't know how he made it, but goodness, it's so fun. But yeah, a fun fact, about me is that I was 18 at the time, but I was still in high school. So I made my pro wrestling, debut while I was, very much so in high school, and all that stuff, and all that, and all that type of thing, and yeah.
Finally, Sammy, where can our audience follow you on social media? Maybe tell us some of your upcoming next matches and opponents, and the latest going on with any special promos or promotions you'd like to promote on here.
Oh, so you can follow me on so for Facebook, you can follow me at Slammin Sammy. That's basically just the name for it. And then my Instagram, you can follow me, at Slammin Sammy Official. I post a lot of stuff on there. And on Twitter, my Twitter is currently down, so I'm trying to work on getting it back up. But you can follow me, at Slammin Sammy on there too. And then on TikTok at Slammin Sammy. one-on-one. So you can follow me on there. I'll be, I post a bunch, and I've been on a posting spree, as I believe that we all should be. And, some of my matches I will be, sharing them on Instagram and stuff, and Facebook, and I'll just, keep promoting those, and the involvement of Rise Wrestling. Stay tuned for what happens there. I'm excited for what will happen in the future with that. And yeah.
As we wrap this show up, Sammy, do you have a question for the host CDP before we wrap it up?
No, not really, but would you ever, come see me wrestle if I was, in your area?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of local or independent wrestling. I think all the women and male do a great job, and I really enjoy it. And when I started my media career 6 years ago, it was a local wrestling company where I got some of my media reps in, and these people, everybody does a good job, and I want to say thank you so much, Sammy, for coming on here. And some of my best interviews have been professional wrestlers, and it was a pleasure having you on here. And I want to say thank you for giving us over 70 minutes of your time. I apologize for keeping you longer than an hour, and it was just great storytelling, and that's what I love about doing this show. And I think wrestlers do a great job of storytelling as well.
Right. Absolutely. We work hard on it, and don't apologize for keeping me over time. I'm happy, I'm happy to talk to you or anybody else, that, wants to talk. And I'm glad, you're interested to see me, wrestle someday. So
absolutely. And continued success, Sammy. Give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the full video, the audio, and I will edit it into some clips if you'd like to tag or post me in on the clips as well.
Okay, absolutely. I will do that.
Good luck to your Pittsburgh Steelers, and who knows, maybe it'll be a Pittsburgh Phillies Super Bowl one day.
Maybe. Yep. We'll put up the good fight, that's for sure.
Fingers crossed. Continued success, Sammy, and we'll definitely keep in touch on social media.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Sammy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you around.
All right, everyone, that concludes season 11, episode 53, overall 603 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest GM or I'm going to say this again. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. We all make mistakes, including myself on here as well. And as we wrap this show up, again, Barry Cullen Chevrolet, go Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now. Book now and save on your tire changeover. Save $20 on your off the rims tire changeover, or save $10 on your on rims tire changeover. More details at barrycullen.com, or visit them again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. And I want to say thank you to my special guest tonight, pro wrestler independent, Slammin Sammy, for coming on here. And please make sure you check out her Facebook page, Twitter page. Slammin Sammy has a YouTube channel as well. I will put it on the graphics before we wrap this show up. So I want to say thank you to Tim O'Shea and Slammin Sammy for coming on here today. And I want to say thank you everyone for watching this live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, Instagram, and on major audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. As we wrap up this show, if you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society, located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals and pets that are up for adoption, their profiles and information on cambridgehumanesociety.org, and they do a wonderful job down there and looking after our homeless furry friends and making sure they get adopted into good homes with good families. And every Wednesday, they do a pet emergency fund at the Cambridge District Humane Society for people in the Cambridge area who are currently struggling with the high cost of pet food. So if you've got dog food, cat food, pet food at home that you're not going to use, please drop it off at the Cambridge District Humane Society. Excuse me, I'm just coming off a cold. They're located right across from the Cambridge Center Mall at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Again, they do wonderful work down there with all the dogs and cats and pets. And pardon me about my cough. I'm just getting over a lousy cold that I picked up last week as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. I'm hoping one day StreamYard, which is my live stream provider, will partner up with TikTok as well. So fingers crossed, I will be doing this show on TikTok at some point. You can also check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. You can also follow this content creator on TikTok at Chris Palme. And I want to say thank you to my 1,100 followers on TikTok. And I have more content coming. So make sure you follow on TikTok at Chris Palme. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, live streaming, check out StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans like I do. And if you're a business that does a lot of webinars or live streaming, go to StreamYard.com and contact your sales department for pricing as well. And yours truly is going on his 5th year with StreamYard, so I give them a big thumbs up. As we wrap up the show, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. Please subscribe, like, and share as well. And as we wrap up the show, you can email Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you'd like to tip the host or contribute to my digital content on my YouTube channel or my 3 talk shows, I am on PayPal, Chris Palme on PayPal as well. And if you like a personalized video message from yours truly, CDP, I'm on cameo.com. That's cameo.com/Chris Palme. Cameo.com, type in Chris Palme. I do happy birthday wishes, happy anniversaries, congratulations. Or if you'd like to ask me questions about my talk shows and my media work and some of my favorite interviews, go to cameo.com, type in Chris Palme, and book your Cameo today. Looking forward to it as well. Finally, you guys can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm also on Blue Sky Social at Live with CDP19 on Blue Sky Social. And also remember to check out my YouTube channel, Chris Palme, Live with CDP Talk Show. Hit subscribe, like, and share as well. And I want to say thank you to my audio listeners. I'm coming up to 10,000 listens on Spotify, and I have listeners in 56 countries around the world. So thank you to everyone for watching and listening to this show as well. Sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. And again, my next episode is going to take place on Friday, October 17th. I wish it was August. Friday, October 17th at 12 p.m. with my special guest. This will be his 5th appearance. His name is Kevin Allen. He's a former longtime writer with he's a former longtime hockey writer for 34 years with US Today, and now he's the hockey writer and columnist for Detroit Hockey Now, and he's also a reporter for the Detroit Red Wings. So Kevin Allen's going to come on and talk to us about the latest with the 25-26 Detroit Red Wings. There are a couple big wins against the Toronto Maple Leafs this weekend, and also the Red Wings are celebrating their 100th year in the National Hockey League as well. So we'll talk to Kevin about maybe some of his favorite Red Wing teams and maybe player interviews as well. So Kevin Allen will be joining me here on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show Friday, October 17th. I got to get August out of my brain. Friday, October 17th at 12 p.m. Eastern with Kevin Allen from Detroit Hockey Now. And I'm looking forward to talking some Red Wing hockey. The Red Wings are off to a good start, 2-1 so far. And the Red Wings are back in action tomorrow night, Wednesday night, October 15th. At 7 o'clock at the Little Caesars Arena when the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers come into Hockey Town as well. And as for sports tonight, we've got Major League Baseball playoffs game number 2 going on, National League Championship Series between the LA Dodgers and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Dodgers obviously won last night, 2-1 game 1. The Brewers must win tonight. They don't want to go down 0-2 to the Dodgers, having to play the next 3 at Dodger Stadium. And the Blue Jays in Seattle are on an off day. The Blue Jays and Mariners resume the series game 3, 4, if necessary 5 in Seattle starting tomorrow night at 8:08. And Shane Beaver will be pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Beaver for the Blue Jays. I didn't say Justin Beaver, Shane Beaver. And for the Mariners, it'll be George Kirby as well. And I don't think people realized outside of Seattle and maybe Detroit how good the Seattle Mariners team is. They've outscored the Blue Jays, 13-4 in the 2 games. So the Blue Jays, for them to stay alive in this series and to get it back to Toronto for game 6 and 7, they're going to have to win 2 out of 3. I know they swept them in May, but this is a much better ball club than they beat in May when they swept them 3 games in a row. So realistically, I do think the Jays could win 2 out of 3 in Seattle, but if they don't, the Seattle Mariners will be going to their first World Series ever in 49 years. And they came in Major League Baseball the same time as the Toronto Blue Jays back in 1977. And that is about it, everybody. Again, I want to say thank you to Tim O'Shea for coming on today, and Slammin Sammy for coming on as well. So 2 shows today, and I have another one booked on Friday with Kevin Allen at 12 p.m. And the next Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself, I'm hoping we'll do one this weekend. So just make sure you check out my social media pages for the next Argo Bounce podcast show. Our season is coming to a wrap. The Argos only have 1 game left, which is this Saturday, October 18th at 7 o'clock. Against the Calgary Stampeders. That's a big game for Calgary for trying to host a playoff game in the West semifinal. The Argos right now are 5-12, and hopefully the Argos can finish the season off with their 6th win of the year and try to build strong for next year as well. And that is about it. I want to say thank you to everyone for watching Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, brought to you by my sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. I hope everybody has a great night. Enjoy the NHL going on. Enjoy the NFL and also Major League Baseball playoffs as well. And go Mariners. And you know what? I think the Jays will get back in that series. I'm not counting out the Blue Jays just yet. It's the best of 7, and the Jays can can come back. So we'll see. And same with the Brewers. I'm hoping the Brewers and the Dodgers go 7 games as well. So, all right. Have a good night, everybody. And thanks for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph.